Hello, this is Greenwise Joe, and today's recipe is something that has been requested for quite a while now by many friends and families. Napa cabbage, which I have shredded or cut up, and most of you will have most of these ingredients that I'm going to describe because we are heading towards the springtime, and no doubt a lot of you will be harvesting a lot of these ingredients that I'm going to describe here. So nap cabbages, and these which I have already julienned are snow peas. Okay, that's what it looks like. I have julienned carrots, chopped onions, just half of a medium onion will do. These are green onions, also cut into diagonally, and some garlic. And yes, this is also organic chicken breast. I have 2 pieces which I've cut up into smaller pieces. Now you can buy this already ground up, but I prefer to cut up my own meat to make sure that I know how fresh it is. And so that's some of the ingredients, and the rest of the ingredients we'll be using some grapeseed oil in order to saute those ingredients. We are also going to use some tamari or soy sauce, and don't be alarmed. You can now find non-GMO, and it's also reduced sodium non-GMO tamari, or it's another form of soy sauce. Okay, so we're also going to be using sesame oil, and of course salt and pepper according to your taste. Okay, so we are going to continue with the cooking process. Okay, I know for a fact that not everybody likes using food processor. They like it the old-fashioned way, and I do respect that a lot because I myself am a rustic cook. I consider myself a rustic cook, which I'm not really a cook. I'm just a mother and a grandmother who likes to cook for her family. So you can do the chopping and the processing of this vegetable using your food processor. And for those of you who do not like to do that, it's really quite simple. All you have to do is stack up your snow peas and very carefully cut it diagonally. Okay, now the thing you have to remember is that make sure that your finger, the nail of your finger, is in a curved position this way. That will prevent you from cutting yourself, and your knuckles right here, these knuckles will be pushing the knife away from your finger. So that's a safe position to whenever you're having to slice up or chop up a lot of vegetable. Like egg roll requires a lot of chopping, and if you do not like using food processor, it can be time consuming and even tedious. So this is one way you could prepare your egg roll ingredients. You could chop it up by hand, and like I said, it can be a time-consuming process doing it by hand. Okay, there are also other tools you could use, manual tools, which will be helpful. And as you can see, I myself like doing things by hand. So I have all that carrots julienne. And here's another way you could do it. You could use this tool to grate your carrot. It's really quite simple. It's a no-brainer. The only thing that I don't like about this is that because I'm shredding the carrot, the result would be quite different. This is a result that I would like to achieve in my other type of egg rolls that most people and family loves whenever I shared it with them. So, oops, sorry for the noise. But as you can see, it's quite different to the one that I have julienne with a knife. So I'm still gonna use that. These are julienne and these are grated, so it's your choice. You could use this little tool here to grate your carrot, or you could use a knife and be extra careful. Make sure your knife is sharp. Okay, so let's start with some grapeseed oil. I like using grapeseed oil because it's lighter. It just don't overpower the flavor of this. Most of these are very delicate ingredients, delicate type of vegetable, especially the Napa cabbage or Chinese cabbage. So grapeseed oil is a good type of oil for this. Okay, here is our garlic. Saute your garlic very well, you know, to almost where it's turning golden brown. Onion. Give the onion a chance to turn translucent. Get our sauce going. We're going to pull that smoke a little by putting your chicken and we're going to put a little bit of cracked pepper to season it. A little bit of salt, about half a teaspoon to season the chicken. Going to cover this. Where's my lid? there is always at least one item that I forget to put here near me. So pardon me if I have to leave abruptly very often, but we're going to cover that and lower the heat to allow the meat to release its juices, and we'll be able to stir it a lot better, and then continue adding the rest of the ingredients. And let's pause this. Okay, so we're going to season this with some tamari. Oh, I don't know, probably a tablespoon or two. It just depends on your taste, and you know that I always taste my food before I consider it done. I always check it for the seasoning and then adjust it. So now it's garlic, onion, sauteed with chicken, chopped chicken, and we are just going to cover this a little bit for a little while to cook it a little longer to make sure that the chicken is cooked through, and then we're going to add the vegetables. So let's pause again. Okay, you probably noticed that I put my lid on it quite often. That is because I am trying to prevent this from drying too fast, and then I will be, I guess, compelled to add a little more water in it to continue the cooking process. And I'm trying not to do that because to me adding water to it kind of dilute the flavor, and I don't have chicken broth right now, which I will be making later on, since I have the chicken broth, the chicken backbone that I have taken from this when I cut up my whole chicken. So I got it on number 8, medium high, and I'm adding my julienne carrots. That's gonna take a little longer to cook. Let's go ahead and add the ones that I shredded with that grating tool. And by layering your seasoning with each ingredient, such as salt and pepper, and by using the salt shaker, you can control your salt. But it's good to season each and every ingredient when possible, and the outcome will be delicious. So I covered it again so that it could steam and continue cooking, and then I will add the rest of the ingredients, which will be this julienne snow peas, and then Chinese cabbage or Napa cabbage. Okay, let's pour. So okay, now we are not trying to cook the carrots here until they're very tender, because we still have some ingredients. There you go. It's quite al dente. Okay, I guess that's the best word that I could use to describe the consistency of the carrots right now, is al dente. And so now I am going to add my julienne snow peas. So if you find yourself harvesting a lot of snow peas, don't worry. Here is one absolutely delicious recipe that you can use your snow peas on. And a dash of salt again. and give it a little time to steam. And here's a good sign and indication that you're about ready to add your next ingredients or your next vegetable. See all that steam? That means to say the snow peas, which I just added here, are now slightly tender and it's actually almost drying up. And don't panic when that happens. Don't start adding your water or you might wind up with a very soupy egg roll mix. Okay, just lower the heat. I'm gonna put it on number 3. Okay, that is absolutely low, and I'm going to start adding my Chinese cabbages. Now I know that when you plant Chinese cabbage, because I have experienced it last year, I have so much. I did everything I can do with it. Made soup, stir fry, kimchi, and I still have so much Napa or Chinese cabbages. So this is another way you could make use of your Napa cabbage. Make some spring egg rolls. Okay? Yeah, let me go ahead and mention it. I was just going to let you see what I'm doing after it's cooled a bit. I just drain it. Drain that excess liquid, and don't throw away the liquid that you saved from this. It can be a good broth, or even you could even thicken it and create some kind of some kind of gravy for another dish. Okay, the liquid is really full of flavor, but since you're going to make egg roll out of all of these veggies, this mix, you want to make sure that you drain it well. And to really dazzle your friends and your family, how about some shrimp or lobster egg rolls? So okay, there's no limit to it. Just use your imagination and go from there. Okay, so every time you add an ingredient, it lowers the temperature. So it was drying up a bit, which is actually how I would like it. There's not much juice in there, not much meat and vegetable juices. Probably about 1/8 of a cup is starting to come out again from this Napa cabbage that I just added. And like I said, sprinkle a little bit of salt so that you could season it, and a dash of black pepper, not too much. And what you're trying to achieve when you're cooking your egg roll filling is some tender yet crisp or al dente texture in vegetable. Naturally, you had to make sure that your meat, whatever kind of meat you're using, you know, chicken, pork, beef, shrimp, you had to make sure that the protein part is cooked through. Okay? And avoid adding any kind of liquid. The vegetable will produce its own liquid, and if you find that it's drying up, lower your temperature, cover it, and that the vegetable will release that juices again. So now that I have my juices, actually I have almost half a cup of liquid in this pot. I put it back on high. Okay, it's just a matter of observing how your ingredients are, I guess, behaving inside the pot as you cook it. You don't want to allow this to cook until it's soggy. It's the worst thing to ever do to your egg roll is fill it with soggy ingredients. I like to have my texture still kind of crisp, you know, to kind of keep the integrity of your vegetable by not overcooking it. So I put this on high so that I could cook it a little faster now, because I don't want to overcook my vegetables. And I'm putting it on high. Do not put the lid back on it, because it will prevent the moisture from evaporating, and you do not want that to happen. Okay, so let's test this. Wow, it's good already. Okay, at this point it's still crisp, but it's getting nice and tender. So I turned off the stove completely. I'm leaving it right there, because remember, as long as it's in this pot and on top of the stove, you still have that residual heat, and it's going to continue cooking it. Now, whenever I make egg rolls, I always wind up having to drain this, because like I said, you know, vegetable contain lots of liquid, and that's one of the reasons why you have to be very careful that when you see that it's drying up in a sauteing process, you don't panic and start adding water, because you don't want it to burn. Just lower the heat, add your ingredients, and cover it as you saw me do. Now, here is the next ingredient, sesame oil. Put about a good tablespoonful. Don't put too much. A good tablespoonful is sufficient. And I'm going to add, that's about a handful, 2 handfuls of green onion. Remember, the stove is off. And just smells so good. I wish you could smell it. Stir this, and I promise you, you will wow your guest, your family, your someone special. Okay, but so my vegetables here, as you can see, it looks like it's limp, but pardon me, but I just wanna demonstrate. You probably heard that. It's still crisp. I hope you did. So I'm going to take this out, or take it off of the heat. Just move it aside and don't cover. Just leave it there. Let it cool a little bit. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to drain some of the liquid, put it in a big container, and allow it to cool. Well, in my haste to get started with the cooking process, I have overlooked one of the ingredients. I mean, I did name it, but I forgot to describe and give a sample of what it looks like before it's been cut up or chopped. This is Napa cabbage or Chinese cabbage. You could find this in most supermarket now, usually next to bok choy. So this is Chinese or Napa cabbage. Are stuck together but very easy to pry apart. As you can see, it's quite pliable and durable enough so that it won't tear when you pull it apart. I like to start pulling it apart in big clumps before I start doing it one at a time. Okay, it's not very hard to deal with this type of wrapper. See, it's quite easy. Just pull it apart. Do be a little careful though. You don't want to lose any one of this wrapper, but it's quite easy to separate them. They're durable. Now the other type, which is the wheat flour dough, this is actually fully cooked. So that is, I'm going to show you the difference between these two as far as cooking. Okay, I could describe it right now. After I fill this with the egg roll mixture, the filling, I could just brush this with a little bit of olive oil or whatever oil you like and stick it in the oven, high heat, probably about 400 to 450 degree, so that it could brown it. You brown it as quickly as you can and it'll give that nice texture. And remember, the filling is fully cooked, whereas this type of wrapper is dough. It's made out of wheat and a lot easier to separate, but a little more delicate as far as handling it. It could tear a lot easier than this, than the rice flour. So a little careful with this, very gingerly when you start wrapping your filling in it. You might want to handle this a little more careful. So that's our wrapper. I gave you two types of wrapper you could use, and both will give you that very good, crisp, delicious result. So we have this much of filling right about this corner of the wrapper. You dip your hand in this bowl of water, wet it, and then wet the edges, two edges of the wrapper. Now you fold it over, there it is, fold it over the filling and give it another roll. Okay, now kind of press this side so that you could create a little seal on this side of the egg rolls right there. Then fold it again that way, one side, and fold this side over, and it looks like you got yourself an envelope. So again, you're going to roll it. Not really. Okay, just roll it gently, and there is your egg roll. Okay, now if you're not going to fry this right away, I will suggest that you do this. Let me wet that a little more. I'm actually not going to cook this right now. I will be cooking this later on tonight for my husband's dinner. So what I'm going to do is, this is a regular flour. I'm going to dip that in there, roll it around the flour, kind of coat it nicely, and place it in a tray or a plate, any container, with parchment paper. I have non-stick parchment paper here. Let me show you. Okay, right here. This is a non-stick parchment paper which I lined the tray with, and that's to prevent the egg roll, if you were to get a little saturated or any moisture soaked through, it will not get pasty and stick to your tray, because that could happen. That happened to me several times. So to avoid that from happening, roll it in the flour and place it on top of a parchment paper, non-stick if possible. Okay, now that's that type of wrapper, which is wheat flour. You find that in a produce section of any supermarket. Now this, on the other hand, is the wrapper, like I said, that you can find in a any Chinese store or any Oriental store, and it will be in a frozen in the freezer along with the rest of the frozen items that they sell there. So again, place your filling right there in a corner, one corner. So for these egg rolls, I made a dipping sauce which is made out of mustard and honey. Now the honey to mustard ratio is according to your taste. Depends on how tart you want it and how sweet you would like your honey mustard sauce. Okay, so that's what I have here as a sauce. You can also make a soy sauce based dipping sauce, but since this is a chicken egg rolls, my husband prefer honey mustard dipping sauce for it. So that's our egg rolls. No double dipping. I just want to try it. Sorry about that. I'm sure it was noisy, but it also is very delicious. So I hope you try this recipe. I guarantee you will not be disappointed, and so are the people that is going to share this with you. This is really a very delicious recipe that is good anytime and any day of the year. Okay, this is Green Wise Jo, and thank you for watching.